Given x and y defined parametrically, this question is asking us to determine the slope of the path at different times. And since it's asking for slope, we have to take a derivative. If we just plug in t values to our x and our y right now, this is telling us where is the point. But the question is asking us what is the slope of the point's path, which tells us we need a dy dx. So dx dt is negative 4 sine, derivative of cosine's negative sine. Dy dt is 9 cosine. So dy dx is going to be 9 cosine divided by negative 4 sine. Going to leave it like that because when we think about t equals 0, t equals pi over 2, t equals pi over 4, it's going to be easier if we just leave it in terms of cosine and sine rather than cotangent. So first let's do pi over 2. Let's do 0 first. So we have 9 cosine of 0 divided by negative 4 sine of 0 is going to be equal to 9. Cosine of 0 is 1 times 9 over, well, sine of 0 is 0 times negative 4 is still 0. So at t equals 0, our slope is undefined, which would tell us we have a vertical tangent line at time t equals 0. And then we're going to do pi over 2 next. So we'll do pi over 2. So we have 9 cosine of pi over 2 divided by negative 4 sine pi over 2. Well, cosine of pi over 2 is 0 times 9 is 0. Negative 4 times sine of pi over 2 is negative 4, which equals 0. So that is a flat slope. Okay, and finally, we are going to do pi over 4. Okay, so for t equals pi over 4, we're going to be a little strategic about this because we know that cosine and sine are actually the same at pi over 4. So we get 9 cosine of pi over 4 over negative 4 sine. Ooh, almost dropped the iPad there. Oof, 9 sine of pi over 4. But cosine and sine are the same at pi over 4, so they're going to cancel each other out, leaving us with just negative 9/4. So if you think about what this ellipse looks like, what do we got? It's x is 4 cosine, y is 9 sine. So when we draw this ellipse, it would look like this. It would look like this. Okay, so what was it again? 4 cosine. Okay, so 4, 4, 9, 9. Okay, we would draw our ellipse. Okay, what did we say? We said at t equals 0, what do we have? At t equals 0, we had a vertical slope, right? So if we go back, t equals 0, oh, there's our vertical slope. It's right here. And t equals 0. Okay, what about at t equals pi over 2? All right, that was our flat slope. Okay, so that happens right here. And then at pi over 4, that's between 0 and pi over 2. We had our slope of negative 9/4. And if you look at all these tangent lines between 0 and pi over 2, yeah, those are all negative sloping. So like kind of like right here, we'd have that negative 9/4 slope.